Hey again.
Hey,
So,
well,
this is only after today, we only have two more
yeah,
chapters of this book, and then Cam will be our season finale
yeah. June 3rd.
guest. But yep, June 3rd. But we're getting down to the nitty gritty on YouTube. The Adoptee's Journey from Loss and Trauma to Healing and Empowerment by Cameron Lee Small. Chapter 8, Navigating
I was
Relationships.
going to say the nitty-gritty navigating relationships.
Yes.
Hello, ding, ding, ding.
It's really comforting
Yeah,
to know having done this for 4 years now and just everybody we speak to, that, we're not crazy.
we're
This
not
is,
alone.
we're not alone. And we're not, it's
Yeah,
just, this is what it did to us, made navigating relationships really hard and
yes,
scary.
yeah. I was listening
Um,
to funny. I'm going to give him a shout out. Di Stefano. How do you say
Di
his name?
Stefano,
Yeah,
Ken Di Stefano.
I don't know why I botched that, but our friend, he's been on the podcast. I was watching him on TikTok today, and he had a whole thing about, have you had hard relationships as an adoptee? And I'm thinking, yeah, I think you should have 100% of people saying yes,
Yes,
because I think this chapter hit me big time.
me too. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it says, relationships, his first key point, relationships become sites where corrective emotional experiences, corrective narration, and storytelling about adoption can be realized and practiced. I mean, if we didn't have our podcast and hearing all the
Yes.
stories and
Yes.
putting them all out there and taking them all in, we wouldn't be where we are,
No.
Storytelling is important.
Yeah. Storytelling is important. And he also talks about how it's important to be humanized, legitimized, because you're in your families, and he kind of gets into a thing later, but about people aren't in your families often aren't trying to hurt their children and gaslight them and things like that.
Right.
But it happens all the time in little ways, right? So
Microaggressions. Yeah.
microaggressions. And we talked about that in the identity chapter, how children are watching. It's almost like their identity is being put on them
Mm-hmm.
by what's said around them. So then how would you be in a healthy relationship, not just romantically, with friends, with work, with people? Like how are you you're not yourself to be in a
If
relationship.
right there and there you have it. There is the crux of it. We weren't ourselves. We're taken
Right.
out of our families and placed into these
Yes.
random strangers, and then we have to adapt. And this is all pre-verbal,
Yes.
subconscious. And then he talks here about adoptee consciousness. It
Yeah.
emerges from decades of critical consciousness studies and adoptee centric research. The concept spirals through five touchstones that, in many ways, reflect a natural story of rebirth.
Yeah.
The five touchstones are, I thought this was really great.
Yeah, me too.
Status quo. This is where we
Mm-hmm.
were when we started the podcast, which is
Mm-hmm.
you believe the dominant narratives without question. This is most of society.
Yeah.
Two is rupture, to encounter new information or an event that disrupts that status quo.
Which
For
is very stressful.
very, very.
Yes. That
And
part
then
upset me. Mm-hmm.
number three, dissonance, the tension of seemingly opposing values or truths. So then you feel, for the guilt or
Yeah.
the grief,
Grief.
from it's easier. I think later in the book, someone says it's easier to not know,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Um, Number four is expansiveness, embracing the paradox and multiplicity or perspectives, reinvention.
Yeah.
And then number five, forgiveness and activism,
Activism.
looking beyond self, exploring forgiveness while challenging the dominant narrative.
And then you
So,
get comfortable. Like then you're like where we've gotten, not everybody gets there and it takes time, but we still have our stuff, but you get comfortable in the like, okay, I'm challenging this. I'm just going to say it. I'm not going to hide things. I'm going to talk about it because it's so much healthier. Don't you feel a weight lifted? It's like,
very much so. Very
yeah,
much so. And the people that don't, it's just the irony of when you do challenge it and it's a non-adoptee trying to push back, like,
yeah,
okay, you know,
it's fine. I'm kind of like, it's fine. Just push
yeah.
back. You're fine. Like,
Hmm.
but it used to be so, I think the hardest part for me when he was going through all that, because we kind of did this in real time, right? 4 years
We
of this
yes,
was the rupture. Like
I
that,
know.
like having that, like, even at home with my marriage, or just, oh my God, my mind was blown, and everything's making sense, but you're scared of that. And so,
And it was for us, it was like the primal wound started it, but then Journey of
uh,
the Adopted Self really, and
yeah,
it was there's a
depression.
definitely like exactly a period of grief.
Yeah. I mean, that he has this term that I think he made it up, residual disintegration. I don't know why I can't speak today.
I
Is a
can't either.
term I use inspired by the work of Daniel Siegel and Tina Bryson, but it's taking your connections that are carried into adulthood that affect you in trauma in
Hmm.
childhood, right? And this is for all people. I mean, everybody has trauma in childhood that you take into adulthood. But because adoptees are so disenfranchised immediately from birth or when they're a little bit older, like he was, it's really a lifelong plague. It's not the
Well,
typical.
right, and again, if nobody's
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
then how would you? He talks about the
Yeah.
double, you know,
Both sides. Yeah.
both sides and being two people in one, you
Yeah.
know.
Really.
How would you be able to
Yeah.
reconcile that if it's just not ever even acknowledged?
No. And
Because
he
no
kind
matter what
of, yeah.
information people have had, they still, I think that babies are blank slates. You can tell someone till you're blue in the face, but I do think they still think they're
I
blank
think so
slates,
too. I
you
think so
know?
too. He gives a little
Because
example. Yeah.
if they really believed it, they wouldn't be adopting someone else's baby. You know what I mean?
I think they want to ignore it. I'll be different. It'll be different for me.
Yes.
And I understand wanting to be a parent. We're not here to slam those people. It's just about understanding what the reality is for a baby. Like, let's put the baby first. Let's put the child first. Foster care children, let's put them first when they come into your
Hmm.
home. Like, he tells the story a little bit of taking like a bunch of post-it notes, and you have everything linear and they blow
Right. I
off in the
love this
wind.
analogy.
Yeah, and the post-it notes are in order of how you're going to speak. You're going to do a presentation, and there's like a million post-it notes to do, and then the wind blows, and that's an adoptee's life, right?
Right. And
It's
then you're trying to tell that story. So you pick up the post-it notes out of order.
out of
And
order.
it's like, what? This makes no sense.
Yeah,
That's how a
yeah,
good way to describe an adoptee's life
yeah. And
and life before they come
yes,
to the family, the adoptive family.
he's got these 3 points: your adoption story being told in public without your understanding or
Hmm.
participation, things that make you feel really uncomfortable, right? Like
Hmm.
someone else sharing your adopted story. That
Like your adoptive
happens.
parents. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
she's
right.
adopted or whatever. The
While you
brothers, the
listen.
siblings.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Having to stay present while you're being discussed, interpreted, judged, or harassed by others in public, like at churches, community. People make adoption jokes. Like you just stand there, right? It's like we talk about this with racism, but this is a whole nother thing.
Hmm.
And then needing to develop and practice burdensome relationship patterns to tolerate, decrease the pain and frequency of being other, outed, and objectified. It's like,
Hmm.
I mean, he digs into stuff,
I mean,
can't
he
he?
really does. He really has done
Yeah.
his due diligence, and it's just
Yeah.
so uh when those emotions and interpersonal strategies you developed to tolerate or avoid them or the
Mm.
interactions that activated them remain implicit and unaddressed, it is common for an adoptee to carry the bio, psycho, socio emotional reactivity with them into adulthood. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, you
Yeah.
know,
It's easier. What you just said, there's that guy who said, there's a little piece of me wishes I could just go back in the bliss of not knowing, even though I was terrible in that state. There is a bliss in not understanding this about yourself. You just go through life thinking,
it
this is
is.
just
I
me. I'm
know.
screwed up. But then you're like, wait a second. It wasn't all my fault. I'm screwed up. It's a hard thing to, it's a hard thing to tackle.
It's such a hard thing to tackle.
Oh,
And
oh,
then all the he talks about the threats along the way,
yes.
the relational safety.
Yeah.
You may have developed protective relational patterns to avoid anxieties associated with such. I mean, it's just
Yes.
there's so much
Hypervigilance. We talk about that all the time.
hypervigilance.
I
Mhm.
have it, you have it. Almost every adoptee I know has it. Constantly aware of your surroundings, can't sleep well because you're alert for danger constantly. It's
Which
like,
then gives you adoptee fatigue.
yeah,
It says, based on research conducted on racial battle fatigue, is an added dimension he'd want to consider with working any adoptees. Cam is a therapist.
yes,
If someone's just tuning in for the first time, he's a
yeah,
therapist. So this is a pretty much a workbook
yeah,
on what to do to heal, and he
yeah.
works with people. So I mean,
And
and
young
I love
people,
his approach.
I do too.
Yeah.
If a child works with him, they're lucky, I think, because he's so, I don't know, he's grounded, he's kind. There's a
And he
certain
lays
kindness.
things
Hmm.
out like, I really was, when I was reading this, was thinking about these questions, asking
Yes,
myself, and I was like,
me too.
I don't even know how to answer them
Yeah,
because I'm not used to really being in touch with this side of myself. It's
yeah,
only been a few years, right? So those questions are really
yeah.
great questions to ask. What do you wish so and so knew about you? In what ways have you controlled how you are in a relationship to escape the shadows of
Yes.
adoption? Just really insightful questions
Yeah.
that there's a
And,
whole lot of them.
and he gets into a whole, so the next part's a whole relationship, how it affects you in birth family, adopted
Mm-hmm.
family,
Mm-hmm.
partners, marriages, friendships. I mean, relationships with your children. We talk about that because if I knew what I knew now, I mean, I feel like, okay, I'm a good mother. I'm not going to do the horrible. I'm a horrible mother, but I would have been a better parent for sure.
Same. I know.
For sure. That's why
I
this stuff's
know.
so important. Whenever we hear like, young people that are doing this early, I'm like, good for you.
Right. We've had some on our
Yeah,
podcast and in our adoptee group, younger people who are doing the work. I'm like, wow, I wish I'd
me too.
had access to that.
Yeah.
Well, here, he kind of wraps up the key point at the end, saying the adoptee's journey involves calling the split self back into being one,
Mm,
whole, to persuade your body and brain that it is no longer in the past, but here now, so that it can fully function in and through the moment at hand and with the people beside you. It's
yeah.
a hopeful,
It is. He's always ending it hopeful.
I
And
know.
he doesn't blame. So that's why it's good to read too. If you're an adopted parent listening, we do have adopted parent listening, parents who listen. It's not blaming. He just really gets into the work and to see it from someone else's view.
Yeah, and it's undeniable. There's
Yeah,
how many adoptive voices out there that are saying that are saying that these feelings. So it's not like you can avoid it. It's the truth.
it's gonna come
So
up.
it's uncomfortable and it might be painful, but better to face that truth and
Always.
have, so. All right. Well, I will.
Oh,
We've
well,
got a great,
yes.
great guest, Stephen.
Steven.
Really
He
not
relates to
a
this.
new Stephen. We've had a
I knew.
couple Stevens in the past. Now we've got a new Stephen.
Yeah. And he relates some of his stuff's right along this. So this is good.
Yeah. All
All right.
right. We'll see you in a minute.
See you in a minute.